And welcome inside the Smith Studio here at Detroit Public Television's Riley Broadcast Center. Fred Nahat with you as we continue our coverage of the PBS and Detroit Public Television outreach effort following the events at Newtown. Joining us now is Michigan State Superintendent of Schools, Mike Flanagan. Thank you for being with us.
Happy to be here, Fred.
Well, I think you probably, like most of us, had the normal human reaction when you first saw the news. But as a state superintendent of schools, I'm guessing there's a whole nother list of issues that immediately ran through your mind.
Yeah, you know, the first one was just to remind myself, frankly, that we have 100,000 teachers here in Michigan. They have plans, they've practiced them. I mean, seeing that teacher that shielded her kids with her own body from those bullets, and it makes you realize this is a heroic act. And we have teachers ready to do this every day here, and I think they're feeling a little beat up. But my first instinct was, I know they have plans, I know they've been practicing them, and that's what saved a lot of lives in Connecticut. And then the other thing was, you know, we have almost 2 million kids here, and how are we helping them cope with this? And frankly, we got some information out to them yesterday, but I think they were pretty prepared that, you know, just give them basic information, look for cues from the kids, don't tell them more than they really want to know. And really at some point in time, just reassure them that they're safe. You know, these are really unusual circumstances.
So those are some of the things that we can use with our children. But speaking of children of all ages, certainly school-age children, they react differently to events like this. They process things, not just today, not just this week, but ongoing. What messages do we have for teachers, kids, and parents that will make this, if we can, just a little bit better?
I think it's this reassurance that, you know, the world is largely a good place. This whole thing is about guns and probably mental illness, you know, the combination of the two that I hope the president's signal that we're going to get on this is going to be one that we can all embrace. Our kids need to understand how many teachers who did survive did we hear talk about how they love their kids. I was on a school visit yesterday. I do a different district each month, and they really do love their kids. I mean, and as I said, it was exemplified. You expect Marines to do this, not teachers. So that reassurance, that heartfelt feeling that when they walk into the classroom, they've got someone who cares about them, that's particularly important for young kids. The older kids are going to try to act tough, like this doesn't bother them at all. But we've got social workers and others, counselors in schools that are watching for cues. Because some kids, they can identify pretty quickly, they're trained to do this, that it's really not okay, that they're sitting there trying to act tough. I mean, guys might be more oriented that way, and they're really struggling. We've got even grief counselors. It's not unheard of that even if the event didn't happen in your own school, that there's some grief counseling that needs to go on. So to me, it was kind of a shout out again that it's one of the unheralded things in public education that kind of came out in this really tragic event.
Well, one of the things that anytime anything like this happens, certainly it's a tragedy, but it seems as though this one's kind of a game changer. And as we begin to look at policy moving forward, are there conversations that folks at your level are already having about things that we may be doing differently there in the school and in the classroom moving forward?
Well, there are some things, and by the way, I can't thank PBS, Rich, and the crew here that contacted us right away over the weekend, so we worked together as a team. We got resources out to all 4,000 of our schools first thing Monday morning. The new conversation is about trying to make sure that have we practiced recently? As I said, this has been going on, unfortunately, a number of years, so plans are in place. And I think what they're going to do through the president's conversation is look at what aspects of this tragedy don't relate to just guns, what are the parts that are guns, and then in terms of the schools, you know, I'll give an example. In this specific case, we're realizing that you might have false security about a buzzer that lets you into a building. That obviously didn't help here. So unfortunately, every one of these tragedies you learn a little bit from, and you learn what do you really need to have. I think the signal was sent by President Obama that meaningful change, and it has to happen. I tweeted first thing that day that, are we going to go through all these debates again, everyone feeling good, saying all the right things, and nothing changing and just waiting for the next tragedy? And I'm very confident that's not going to happen this time.
Well, as always a child's first teacher, the parents, what do we know from the curriculum, from the policies, to what we're readying in school that the parents can use in terms of identifying cues and other at-risk factors that they can use at home with their own kids and maybe even their kids' friends? Yeah,
that's a really good question. I mean, the parents are the first teacher, and in the parent sense, it's more about the reassurance that we love you, honey, you're safe, we're with you. even that first day, it may need to be a little bit more, where typically they might be more inclined to be on a bus, but that day they actually want to take them to school and give them that reassurance. I mean, a lot of this at home, you know, I'm a grandparent now of a couple of 2-year-olds, and there's a point where you realize sometimes you feel insecure about what you're really saying. And I think if you say it from the heart, if you look for cues, if you just turn the TV off when there's too much of it. I mean, it's gotten to this many days now where this can be as tough on a kid as the actual event, is just hearing too much about it. So try to keep that in the background. But do what's in their gut. I mean, their gut is pretty good. Parents, we even underestimate them in terms of day-to-day education, not to mention a tragedy like this.
Well, in just the couple of seconds we have left, one overriding message that parents need to know from the head of the state of Michigan's school district?
Trust your schools. I mean, we're trained, we're ready. Our teachers, I'm so proud of them, I can't thank them enough. We've practiced this the same way we do fire drills and everything else, and as I said, there would have been a lot more lives lost in Connecticut if they weren't doing the same.
Well, great, strong messages for teachers, for kids, for parents, for all of us. Mike Flanagan, State Superintendent of Schools, the state of Michigan, thank you for working with Detroit Public TV.
My pleasure, Frank. Thank you.
And you are watching Detroit Public TV.